Feuds, and more. Feuds from an old school charmed feud to a modern day Vanderpump Rules squaddle. Get ready. We're about to break it all down. And it's going to be a juicy one. Let's get it. You're listening to No Filter with Zach Peter, your go-to source for all the latest pop culture and reality TV tea, served fresh all week long. Now, let's dive in. What's up, everybody? Everybody in the club. Welcome on in. Welcome on in. Welcome on in. Hi, Danielle. Hi, Christopher. Hi, Donna. Hi, reality TV lover. Hi, Tambo. Hi, Rashonda. What's up, guys? Welcome on in. Happy Monday. Hope you had a great weekend. I hope you got some R&R time. If you're in LA, then you know it is raining. It is storming. The old man is snoring. It's raining. It's pouring. The old man is snoring. Dun, 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 dun. What an exciting week that we have ahead. Hopefully, you know, I saw this TikTok that was going around with this guy. He's like, if you have any friends that are in Southern California, make sure you check on them because we don't know how to behave in the rain. And it's so true, especially when you have dogs. You have to walk the dogs. You have to take them outside to go potty because you don't want them to shit in the house. It's a thing. It's a time. It's a time to be alive. But one, if you've noticed, if you're listening to this on Apple or on Spotify, or even if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll notice there have been a few changes around here in the No Filter world. We have new cover art shot by the very talented Marco. Mr. Marco has been shooting all of my like major shoots for like the past 7-8 years. I think he started in like 2017. So he's done all my major like video and photo shoots. So the new intro that you guys are watching, if you're watching on Spotify or you're streaming it on YouTube, that new intro Marco helped shoot. He does a lot of my live shows. He went on tour with the Spilling Tea live tour with us and helped shoot that. So it's been good, but we have new cover art. We're just rounding out we're just under 800 episodes of No Filter. Been doing it for nearly 9 years now. So celebrating 9 years, celebrating almost 800 episodes, new era, new decade, new bitch, right? No Filter with Zack Peter. Let's get it. We've officially dropped the hashtag. If you've been listening since the beginning, it used to be hashtag No Filter. And then I figured let's just keep it clean and be No Filter with Zack Peter. So yeah, I'm excited. It's cool. It's fun. It's exciting. We did have a couple of like alternate options. I think the one that I ultimately went with, or not I think, but the one that you're seeing if you're watching this on your podcast app or listening to this on your podcast app is the one of me like sitting in the director's chair. It's very like boss bitch vibes. But we had other alternates. We had like a close-up option that we were considering that producer Scott was really fighting for. I just felt like the director's chair was a little bit more of a boss bitch move. And then we also had like a more cheeky, fun one of me in the director's chair with a microphone in my hand and a magazine in my lap. But I just felt like the props were overdone and the mic was overdone. And I didn't want to do a martini because I felt like that was just overdone. It was but I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for supporting me always. You know, and just being by my side and championing me and giving me grace on my tough days and, you know, cheering me on, and on my good days being there to celebrate with me. I would have none of this without this community that's around me, without the Zack Pack that shows up for me. And I'm even just so grateful to be part of this community of creators, right? That, are so talented and continue to defy the odds, continue to break new molds. There's a lot of fun, exciting things in store. I'm going to be making a special announcement at the Bourbon Room on February 14th, which will be my 4th show at the Bourbon Room, which I'm really excited about. I think maybe my last show for a minute. I think I may need to take a break from live shows and from doing the shows in LA. I think I've decided maybe I'm going to take 2023 off from doing live shows. I haven't told this to producer Scott or my manager yet. So news to them. Very similar to the way Kandi Burruss announced that she's quitting Real Housewives of Atlanta. She was just talking to Variety. And she was saying that she has decided, listen, Bravo put the show on pause for a little too long. So Kandi was like, yeah, I just decided while I was put on ice and they were taking their time making a decision for the show that I invested in other projects. And I just think I'm not coming back for this upcoming season. So She's not coming back for this upcoming season. Kenya sounds like she might be coming back. I don't think they're doing a full reboot with Atlanta. Kenya was just on a radio show recently where she was talking about saying that some familiar faces will be back, but you will definitely see a different cast. So I'm assuming that means like Sonya and Drew won't be coming back, which, listen, I'm not mad at. This last season of Atlanta was rough. This last season of Potomac was rough. This last season of Miami is kind of, it's good, but it's also kind of just like, I don't know. I feel like all Housewives, aside from Beverly Hills, I feel like is also now starting to really slump. It was good. It has its moments, but it's not its best season. It's not really shining, right? Magic Mike and Sutton's meltdown, great. Erica versus Denise, great. But there's no, like, aside from the Kyle Richards stuff, which we really haven't gotten a lot of, we don't have like a central storyline that's kind of keeping the show through. So I'm kind of like, wah wah. But yeah. Kandi Burruss officially out. She's leaving, quitting, putting herself on pause. She made the decision. She even said, like, oh, I haven't even told the other women this yet. So she was kind of just like, surprise. I feel like that's kind of my surprise moment. Like, ooh, surprise. I don't think I'm going to do any more live shows after this Valentine's Day show, February 14th. You can live stream it. You can come to the Bourbon Room. Valentine's Day, very special guests coming, very special lineup. Yeah, it's going to be fun. No Filter, Night of Love, February 14th. Get your tickets or live stream passes at nofilterlive.com. We're going to have Paul and Patrick in the show. We're going to have Donna Bowling in the show. We're going to have Chef Stu in the show. We're going to have Evan Reel from Page Six, Jeff Epstein from the Manic Podcast, Josh from Louisiana, Andy Lawani from What's Trending, Kristen Takeman from Real Housewives of New York, Hunter Matthews from Too Hot to Handle. It's going to be good. It's going to be a fun and exciting night. So get ready. Mark your calendar. I'll see you there. The Bourbon Room, February 14th. Okay. So what should we start with first? So we talked about the Kandi stuff. Andy Cohen even had a really sweet message that he posted on Instagram, just thanking Kandi for all that she had done for Atlanta. Essentially, he posted like a series of photos with her, with Kandi and him, or just photos that he had of Kandi on his phone, I'm assuming. And he said, "What can I say, Kandi? One of the greats, a superstar. What a run. Hashtag worldwide. Hashtag RHOA." And then she responded, she said, "I love you, Andy." So listen, her time has come. She was great on the show. She had a great run. I don't know if she'll come back. She said maybe she'll come back down the line. She had a good run, right? I think she was a rock star. I think she was the OG. She was an anchor on the show. But in the last few seasons, I just feel like she was checked out a bit. She didn't really want to be there. I think she even said, like, she just kept doing it because it was just what she was doing. And then eventually, when it was kind of taken off the table, she was like, I don't really need to do this anymore. And now she's officially moved on from it. Good for her. Okay. Let's talk about Alyssa Milano and Shannen Doherty, because we covered this on the podcast a few weeks ago when Shannen Doherty and Holly Marie Combs went on Shannon's podcast, Let's Be Honest, and they talked about their experience working on Charmed together, and they talked about how Alyssa Milano essentially got them fired. And we need a break from Housewives too. Oh, sorry, I just popped into the live chat. Hi, guys. Hi, everybody. So Alyssa Milano is now responding to Shannen Doherty's claims because Shannen said that Alyssa put the network in a tough situation where she was threatening to sue the network for a hostile work environment, and they had to make a decision whether they were going to let go of Alyssa or let go of Shannen Doherty. Well, Alyssa Milano has not addressed it since then. It was all over the news. Everyone's like, oh my God, Alyssa got Shannen fired. And like everybody was picking it up. I haven't seen many people pick up the Alyssa Milano response though. She's clapped back and is essentially saying Shannon's lying. And she even says that this is revisionist history. We'll get into it, but here's a clip from Alyssa Milano was just at MegaCon in Orlando, and she got a Q&A question asking what her response was to Shannen Doherty's podcast. So here's a clip from it. It's a condensed, like a shorter clip. I think her full answer is like a little over 5 minutes. This clip is pulled from the Geeky Waffle on YouTube. So you can go on YouTube and go to the Geeky Waffle, subscribe, watch the full video there. Full credit to the Geeky Waffle. But here is a shorter condensed clip of basically what she says about this whole feud and beef.
You know, you're all Charmed fans, so I knew that this was going to come up. I think we all know I'm talking about Shannen's podcast and Holly and Shannen doing it together, the things that Rose has said in the past. So I'm just going to address it because I feel like if you can live with a certain amount of honesty and integrity, and you all deserve that. I will just say that I'm sad, and I don't think it's really that I'm sad for me or for my life or how it does or does not affect my life. I'm the most sad for the fans. I'm the most sad that a show that has meant so much to so many people has been tarnished by a toxicity that is still, to this day, almost a quarter of a century later, still happening. And I'm sad that people can't move past it. I'm sad that we all can't just celebrate the success of a show that meant so much to all of us. And I think when I think back to that time, it was hard for me. I had worked super hard in my life in the last 25 years to heal all of my trauma, and that's not just, you know, the trauma that I experienced while shooting, but all of my trauma. Do I wish that we could all sit on a stage? Yeah, because again, this was like almost a quarter of a century ago. How is it possible to continue to hold on to that? And I've, you know, I think been very upfront and taken accountability for and apologized for whatever part I played in the situation. And I've been very forthcoming about that. And so I don't know how else to fix it. I even don't know if I could put myself out there any more than I already have to try to fix it. But yeah, it's heartbreaking. It's hard. This is the uncomfortable part that I wish was different. And so, apologies to all of you who love us anyway.
Okay, so that's what she had to say at MegaCon. Listen, I know some of you are like, those bangs. I said the same thing. I'm like, but she's always had some questionable hair choices. You know, the pixie cut. She was actually able to pull off the pixie cut, but growing up, the pixie cut was not my favorite. Or when she had those choppy bangs, the Courtney Cox Scream, was it Scream 2 or Scream 3 bangs? Not the vibe. So she's tested some fun hair trends that were less fun than they should have been. But yeah, not a fan of her bangs. But listen, she's addressing it the best way she can. And so she also went and posted the full transcript of what she said. She posted the full transcript on her Instagram, so you can read that full transcript. And this is what she added to her caption. She said, I was asked about the Charmed experience on the panel at MegaCon yesterday. She posted this 2 days ago, so I think this happened on Friday. These slides are transcripts, but I just wanted to add, and she wrote, I don't know one other show that has had the success that Charmed had where the cast still speaks ill of the experience a quarter of a century later. This is 15 movies and 13 TV shows ago for me. This was 11 years before my 15-year marriage and 13 years before having my first child. This was so long ago that any retelling of these stories from anyone is just revisionist history. I will add, though, with absolute certainty, everything was documented. There was a professional mediator. I was told Holly and Shannen would not participate in any mediation, and an on-set producer / babysitter who were both brought in to investigate all claims. It was then recommended by this mediator, after collecting testimony from cast and crew, what changes should be made if the show was going to continue. The studio, Aaron Spelling, and network made the decision to protect the international hit that was Charmed. I did not have the power to get anyone fired. Once Shannen left, we had 5 more successful seasons, and I am forever grateful. I love the shade about her being like, we had 5 more successful seasons after Shannen left. Okay, so chill. I mean, listen, she throws a little shade, but she's also very clear in this. You know, they protected Charmed. Which I guess does make sense. When you do have an international hit show like Charmed that is so successful, it's a big gamble and a big risk to then fire one of your main leads, especially when that main lead holds such star power, right? Shannen Doherty was a name. She was an actress that people knew. Shannen and Alyssa were both known names. I think that's why there was a struggle to cast Holly Marie Combs in it, because she wasn't a name. She didn't have that star quality or that star power that they were looking for a third actress to join the show. So listen, she's coming back. She said, also, as a footnote, I have the same attorney now that I had then. He's been my attorney since I was 19 years old. Thanks to Collider for printing what I said verbatim. Thanks to MegaCon Orlando for having me and believing that I can get people there. 4-hour wait lines. Woof. And thanks to the fans who have had to deal with the chaos and just can't have the show to love and experience for themselves. As always, I wish Holly, Shannen, and Rose peace and light in their personal and professional journeys. We all have bigger demons to fight. I agree. I mean, I kind of get it. Like, for me as a Charmed fan, like, she's like, I hope this doesn't ruin the reputation of Charmed or doesn't tarnish its legacy. It doesn't. I'll say that. As a big Charmed fan, I loved Charmed. Still love Charmed. This, if anything, I'm living for it. This is like the Charmed reboot I didn't know I needed. That the sisters are fighting. What? I'm loving it. I'm here for it. I know it's not fun. As somebody that's been caught up in the drama before, it's not always fun when you're the one participating in the drama and people are dissecting it. But listen, I'm low key here for it. But if that wasn't enough, then we get into the comments, right? And in the comments, I mean, there were a lot of people that came to her defense and like, I've worked with Alyssa and she's been great and she's so professional. I worked on this show for 2 whole seasons, and I will say Alyssa was the most respectful and truly cool person on set. She was the only one that actually spoke to everyone like a human being, and I never saw any shit that's been said about her on set. When I worked on Charmed for 1 episode, I was so young and green as an actor that I didn't know what a mark was, and I didn't know what a blocking rehearsal was. I was a deer in the headlights. Alyssa was patient and nice to me the whole time, in spite of my obvious shortcomings. I do remember there was some drama between the leads of the show, but I had no idea what was going on, and I certainly wasn't looped in. A couple of years later, I worked with Alyssa on a pilot. We played siblings, and she did everything she could to make everyone feel comfortable on set and worked to foster an environment where everyone thrived. I really don't know what happened on Charmed, but I know my experiences with Alyssa have been nothing but positive. And then, Mark Ruffalo jumped into the chat. What? He left a comment. He said, I've known you for years now. You are hardworking, a great mother, a gifted actor and writer, and a hell of a strategist and organizer, always fighting for the betterment of people's lives, and just very cool and pleasant person. There is no use for rehashing the past, but I love rehashing the past, Mark Ruffalo. It's gone. Wishing you and the whole cast the best. You made a beloved show together, and you all mean so much to its fans. I didn't know they were that close. Okay. Oh, Dr. Sean said, as you once said, I am light. I am one too strong to fight. Return to dark where shadows dwell. You cannot have this Halliwell. But okay, so as I'm going through the comments, there was one comment specifically that was written by her baby daddy, her hubby. He wrote, I'm so sorry you still must address this subject so many years later. I remain inspired by your ability to handle it all with such grace and compassion. I certainly do not have that skill, and it's one of the many beautiful things I envy about you. If only Mr. Spelling in the studio had hired a neutral third party to investigate and determine the source of the unrest and cause of a hostile workplace. That way, independent research could be done. This team could have interviewed eye and ear witnesses in the cast and crew and made a recommendation on their findings. Maybe they could have had an influence on how to handle the poor behavior and bullying that took place. Oh, wait, that happened? Got it. If only there was a pattern we could look at. For example, if similar behavior or consequences had existed before or after, then we might be able to find a common denominator. Oh, wait. If only you had the courage to own your part in this whole drama and had apologized in an effort to move forward. Oh, wait. So maybe it's best we put this topic to rest, even if we might need a listener's boost in a podcast. It's tired. It gives asked and answered. I love you, Alyssa. And then she said, baby, I love you. I love when you defend my honor. It's so hot. Thank you. I love you too. On my way home to you and the kids. Listen, he came in and said exactly what needed to be said. And then the unfortunate part is people then asked about Holly Marie Combs and why Holly is now like upset with Alyssa because they seem to be, at one point like clear or they seem to be good. Remember they did that cameo on Grey's Anatomy when they came back and they played sisters. They didn't play Phoebe and Piper, but they played sisters together. And so somebody asked, like, you guys were good. Like, how is it that you guys have had a falling out again? And Alyssa then commented, and she said that she believes that it had something to do with, I guess, Alyssa's uncle had passed away. And the news was delivered to Holly by somebody else, and Alyssa thinks that Holly was offended, that Holly had to find out about the passing of Alyssa's uncle through someone else. As it's now come out, Holly was very close to Alyssa and her family while they were filming Charmed together. Alyssa said it was nothing personal, not telling Holly directly. She's like, this is somebody that I remember resuscitating on the side of a freeway when he went into cardiac arrest. Like, this was an uncle that was very close to me. So at the time, I just didn't have the faculties to even be able to, talk to my close family and friends, let alone, reach out to Holly. It seems like she feels kind of bad about it, but she thinks that Holly's a little salty or hurt by that. Which, interesting. Okay. Let's see what you guys are saying about Holly and Alyssa and Shannen, and if you guys were Charmed fans, and how you feel now that we've heard Shannen's side of things, we've heard Holly's side of things, and now we've heard Alyssa's side of things. Weigh in the live chat if you're streaming this live on YouTube right now. We stream live every morning before it goes on to the main podcast feed, so you can tune in there. But Angel says Phoebe was my first girl crush. I agree, Phoebe was my first girl crush. Jen said, well, Shannen left and it went on for how many more seasons? 5 more seasons. So listen, I think the show is great. It is unfortunate that like all of this drama keeps getting rehashed when, like Alyssa said, this was, from like a quarter of a century ago at this point. Well, it started in 1999 is when Charm debuted, 98 or 99. So yeah, that's 21, 22, 23, 24, 25 years ago that this show aired. And it's been off the air now for 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, like 18 years. Interesting. Shannen and Holly conformed each other's stories. They confirmed each other's stories or they conformed each other's stories? I believe Shannen and Holly. I believe all three of them, right? Yeah, so listen, Shannen said that I think Alyssa was probably the one that was giving the network the most hell about this alleged toxicity in, on the set amongst the cast. I think Alyssa, was, as Shannen and Holly said, Alyssa was documenting everything. So clearly there were things that were going on set. If they were being documented, then something was happening. Things were going on. Things were being done. Whether or not we agree that it was bullying, because Holly said that, the things that she claimed wouldn't fly by today's standards of a toxic work environment. So who knows? Maybe they were, they would snub her, or maybe they didn't invite her to lunch or whatever. But those things were documented, and there is a history of, a pattern of behavior that was going on set. Okay. If there was a third-party mediator that Alyssa was meeting with, then Shannen and Holly's reluctance to meet with that third-party mediator also doesn't help their side of the story, right? So when the network is looking at things, they're looking at it as, well, oh, Alyssa Milano is, has these concerns and she's documenting all these things that are going on. And she's the one that's actually talking to the mediator. And Holly and Shannen are refusing to talk to the mediator. Yet Alyssa has this entire case against, Shannen. It appears it was mostly against Shannen than it was against Holly. So if Alyssa has all this documentation and then they are interviewing the cast and the crew, and they do have to determine what's going to be in the best interest of the show moving forward, I understand how the network made that call. I mean, getting rid of Shannen Doherty was a bold move, and it could have potentially tanked the show altogether. So something had to have been done. And again, you know, Dave, her husband, coming in and talking about the pattern of, prior behavior. I mean, Shannen did have a history of not having the best behavior on the set of 90210, which is where she was fired. So getting fired again, I believe all three of them. I believe Alyssa. But see, Alyssa's also come out publicly, and even in her book, Sorry Not Sorry, which I don't love the title of that book, but in her book, Sorry Not Sorry, she does talk about how she contributed to that, how she feels badly about that. She's the one that's reached out to Shannen. I believe she's tried to reach out to Rose. She's been close with Holly in the past. I know at one point Shannen and Holly had a falling out, and they weren't talking for a while. So I just kind of feel like, listen, they are just like sisters. And so I think they all three of them, listen, what did they say? It's this side, that side, and the truth is what falls somewhere in the middle. I think that they were probably all difficult on set, but I think Shannen would have had a stronger case had she documented some things and had she participated in this third-party mediation. The network had to make a decision, and I just think the evidence, the receipts, proof, timeline, screenshots, fucking everything. Alyssa Milano had all of that. And so, unfortunately, the network had to rule in Alyssa's favor. Everyone has their own truth. Yep, just ask Crystal Minkoff. Nobody knows more about their truth than Crystal Minkoff. So, yeah. Yeah, I think they're all right. I love them all still. I think Alyssa, no, she does not have the power to get someone fired, but she definitely helped build the case against Shannen. And that case is what ultimately got her fired. The same way Tori Spelling helped build the case against how Shannen got fired from 90210 originally. Danielle says Alyssa's husband is alleged to be shady and involved in Me Too, allegedly. I know. Well, Rose McGowan has alluded to that. I don't think she alluded to the fact that Dave was complicit in Me Too, but that Dave is an agent at CAA, and CAA obviously, has their skeletons in their closet, and in order to protect their talent and in order to protect their brand, they wanted to put together a PR campaign that made them look good as long as they were the ones behind it. And so Rose McGowan was like, look, at Alyssa Milano is suddenly the face of the Me Too movement. She's the one that's championing women, and yet she happens to be repped by CAA. And, these big agencies are complicit in some of this bad behavior that's gone on for so many years. So she's like, connect the dots. It looks like CAA wanted to make sure they saved face when Me Too was coming out. So they used Alyssa Milano to kind of be the face of it. I think that that's a pretty big accusation to make. I've not heard any specific allegations about Alyssa's husband, but I just find Alyssa condescending. I mean, listen, I think Alyssa has a sense of entitlement and she can be a little condescending, but at the same time, she also does have moments where she's able to take accountability and reflect. And I think I would love to see some sort of Charmed reboot. I don't think at this point it'll ever happen because the cast, one, has continued to trash the show and their experience on the set, even though it was such an iconic show. Pretty fun seeing the Charmed house on the east side. Oh, yeah, it is here in LA. It wasn't in San Francisco. I've been around it. It's in Silver Lake, Echo Park, I think Silver Lake. And yeah, I haven't been to the exact house yet, though, but it is iconic. Thank you for better clarifying it for me. My brain is a little foggy. I'll go, Danielle. I need my time with Zack, and I'm just a dog mom. A single mom who works 2 jobs, who loves her kids and never stops. I'm a survivor. I'm gonna make you fall in love with me. Okay, so that's Alyssa and Shannen. Let's move on to another feud, and that is Lala and Doty. So Lala Kent Kristen Doute. There's been some drama. I talked about this a little bit more, and I go more in depth about it into on this week's members, or last week's, or the weekend's members only, which if you are a member on YouTube or on Apple Podcasts, you can catch that bonus episode there. Where again, I get into it a lot deeper. I also talk about like my real feelings about this Housewife and the Hustler documentary, and how a lot of these people that are aligning themselves with the victims, how they're now out here selling books and selling ice cream and getting glammed up for their Hulu close-ups. And, you know, now I'm starting to question some of these people's motives, because it looks like we're moving away from, we're fighting from the victims to we're fighting to stay relevant. We're fighting to, you know, continue to make sure people know our names and see our faces, even if that means dragging Erica Jane, who again has still not been charged with anything and continues to get past all of the civil lawsuits that come her way. But, you know, if it's a convenient narrative to trash Erica and to make a low budget tabloid documentary called The Housewife and the Hustler 2, which again, what a tacky name, then you know what? Do what you got to do. I listen, I have a lot more to say on that on members only, that I'm not going to get into that now. But let's talk about Lala and Doty. So Lala was just on Josh Peck's podcast, which is kind of funny. So I happen to kind of be at the center of this drama again, funny enough, because I was at the center of the, what was it, season 8, season 9 premiere. Remember when Sheena's like, oh my God, did you hear what Lala said about you on a podcast? And then Ariana plays the podcast and it's Lala saying, I don't give a fuck about you. You don't give a fuck about me. Let's just, you know, whatever. And then that led to like this season-long fight between Lala and Ariana. That was my podcast. That was my interview with Lala. Here we are again. But it's just funny that like now it's being referenced on Josh Peck's podcast. Like I grew up watching Drake and Josh, and obviously I've loved watching Vanderpump Rules for the longest time. So the fact that like Josh Peck is referencing drama that I was somehow, I wouldn't say I was a part of. Okay, but I have the clip for you guys too. But so basically, Kristen Doute was in my live show, my Friendsgiving live show at the Bourbon Room back in November. Gigi from Shaws of Sunset and Reza from Shaws of Sunset were also in that live show. Now, Lala does come up. Gigi came for a lot of people that night. She, you know, came for Lisa Vanderpump. She came for MJ. She comes for Lala. And there were some unsavory comments that she made about Lala, specifically about Lala's parenting. I didn't love those comments. It was very awkward and uncomfortable. And I just want to say, when you're in that environment, when you're on stage and you have a guest, it's kind of hard to reprimand your guest when you're in front of a live audience and this is being live streamed for the world to watch, because everybody's sitting there salivating, waiting for something. And when I'm the host and it's my show, I'm not going to reprimand my guest and have this like, you know, Jerry Springer moment on stage. And I think Kristen not coming to Lala's defense in that moment also was kind of that like, this is not the right, like, what are we going to fight on stage? Like, what? Like, this is not, you know, I wish I would have defended Lala's parenting a little bit more, or just made some sort of reference to that, like, kind of like great, like moved us forward. But listen, see, Jen says, yeah, how do you segue out of that? It's really hard, but here, I'll play the clip for you guys and then we'll discuss what Kristen said, what Lala said, and how this is all playing out. Do you think you and Lala could ever melt the ice and become friends?
I wish
I don't
her
know
well.
anything about
I
that.
wish her well. You know, listen, I saw a lot, and I think the whole world saw a lot with the whole Randall situation, right? I think she had her truth, but her truth was just, it was put on a weird display. I had an opinion about that. I said, your child is only going to suffer from this. And then I became the enemy all of a sudden. I'm so sorry. You know what I mean? Is she has this whole situation. She has an ego complex. She needs to get off her fucking high horse. You know, stop with the tight ponytails. I really don't know where the eyes are going at this point. You know, it's just, I can't. No, really, they got tighter and tighter. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan. I wish her well, though.
Do you think that there could be some mending, though, in the future?
I'm older than her. I'm on a different level than her. You know what I mean? I'll wish her well. I'll teach her.
Well, but I feel like you know, motherhood could bond you guys. You guys both have toddlers.
No, we don't have anything in common because I would never put my child in that situation to create her father as being an enemy. I would never do that. So we're not alike as mothers either.
Needless to say,
This shit's getting dark, y'all. This is getting
Okay, again, how do you segue out of that? You can see that I'm very clearly trying to get her to like say something nice about Lala and like try to like find some common ground with Lala. And Gigi, the more I kept pushing that, the more Gigi was starting to double down on like her negative commentary about Lala. I was really trying to like get her to like say, you know what, maybe somewhere down the line, like I don't know. That was a really tough situation to navigate, and you can see Kristen is super uncomfortable, and she's kind of squirming in her chair, and we're like kind of like awkwardly like not laughing, but like we have this like nervous like you know, that's like it's awkward tension. And when, you know, I think after this I kind of like go into make some like poor jokes about how, you know, I'm questioning Gigi's taste in men with Shep. Listen, I tried my best. I feel badly. I wish I would have said something just about like, all right, let's not, you know, let's not bring the kids into this or just something. Which I think is what Lala wanted Kristen to do as well. But then this clip started surfacing online, and I guess Lala caught wind of it, and she's like, oh my God, Kristen should have defended me. But instead she's sitting there laughing. And so Lala was upset about that, and Kristen found out that Lala was upset about that, and Kristen gets into this more on her podcast and how she even sent Lala this clip because Kristen reached out to me and she was asking me if I could send her the clip from the show or the entire show. And listen, yeah. Kat in the live chat says Kristen looked very bothered, and you tried to shift the trash talking from Gigi. You did well and handled it well. Listen, I did the best I could, but I still feel badly, you know, like it was still my show where Gigi says these things about Lala and or Lala's parenting. And listen, it's one thing, like I didn't love like her comments about the eyebrows or whatever, but like the parenting stuff I think is just really, I get Gigi's point of her being like, you know, in a general sense, right? Of like trashing, you know, your child's father, you know, can be harmful to your child down the line. I get that, but I think Lala's case is a little more unique, and Randall's situation with Lala is different. And I think that's why Lala felt like, and she says this on Josh Peck's podcast, that, you know, Kristen knows the ins and outs of what she's dealt with Randall, and she was hurt that Kristen didn't come to her defense in that moment. But Lala was just, or sorry, but Kristen was just like, it wasn't I didn't think it was my fight to fight. But you can see Kristen's like, why am I sitting in the middle? This is getting really dark. She also says, you know, I make a joke about Shep, you know, I'm like, Gigi, you're over here judging Randall or judging Lala's taste in Randall when you're over here dating Shep. And then, you know, Kristen's like, no, there's no comparison. Like Randall's really terrible. And she, you know, she definitely makes it clear that Kristen made it clear that she was not Team Randall in any of this, even though Gigi is friends with Randall. But it's just, whew, is cray cray, insane in the membrane. It was live. What the fuck were you supposed to do? Listen, I did the best that I could. And here's the thing. The day after the show, or I think, yeah, I would say a day after the show, or maybe a day or two after the show, I reached out to Lala and I reached out to MJ. I texted them both and I was like, hey, just wanted to give you a heads up in case you see something on social media. These are some of the things that Gigi said on stage. I just want you to know. I don't, you know, I think I won't read the messages between me and any of them, but like, I think from what I remember, I told Lala something like, listen, this is, you know, what was said. I just want you to know that, like, we don't feel this way about your parenting. Like, you know, I think you're an incredible mother. And I just wanted to give you a heads up. And I'm sorry that this was said at my show, but I just wanted to give you a heads up and know that I don't feel this way about you personally at all. And I did the same thing with MJ. I was like, hey, you know, I spoke on the phone with MJ and I was like, hey, these are some of the things that were said. I'm sorry that they were said about you. They don't reflect how I feel about you, blah, blah, blah. Right. So I did try to, you know, reach out to them ahead of time and smooth things over before it really took off. And then now I see that it's like really taken off. And now Kristen and Lala are in this big feud. None of them are upset with me because I've reached out to both of them. And I was like, listen, I'm sorry that I was like the catalyst, or I was like the instigator. I don't know. I don't even know what my role in any of this would be, but I just hate that it happened at my show, and I'm the one that put Gigi and Kristen together on the show. And yeah, Kristen was even like, Gigi's not said nice things about me in the past, so it's weird that Gigi even wants to do this show with me. And I was like, yeah. And Kristen even says that I offered to, like, maybe we split them up so that they're not on stage together and they don't sit next to each other and, like, do what we got to do. So, and Kristen was like, no, it's fine. Like, we're adults. I can sit on stage and be next to her. It's all good. So I was like, okay, fine. So, oof. It's one thing when you say it with kindness, but she was aggressive. I mean, listen. Gigi is who Gigi is. She's always going to keep it 100. She's very outspoken. And she's always going to, do what she's going to do. Gigi's friends with Randall. Yeah, she is friends with Randall. Remember, Randall, that was the only interview Randall's ever given was on Gigi's podcast. So, I don't know. It's an interesting one. But I mean, I hope, and I said this to both Lala and Kristen, I hope they're able to work it out. I hope, they're able to mend things and just come out better. I want that for them. I adore them both. I adore all of them. Very grateful to all of them for being so supportive of me and coming on my show and doing my live shows and all of that. So yeah, that's all I got to say about that. What else? We had the Grammys. I finally watched the Grammys. I haven't seen an award show in it's been a minute, but I did watch the Grammys. Congrats to Miley. Miley was the overall. I mean, listen, her hair was a hot mess. I was not a fan of that look. I was not a fan of that hair. And I'm like, oh, okay. But good for her. I think what Miley was trying to do is, like, Dolly Parton or like a lot of these like iconic women they've had big hair at the Grammys in the past. So I think she kind of wanted to do something similar to that. The thing is, Miley's so tiny that the big hair just was overwhelming to her. And it didn't look the best on her. But I love me some Miley. I'm glad that she won. I can buy myself flowers, write my name in the sand, talk to myself for hours. I can buy myself flowers. Love it, love it, love it. Maybe it's an homage to her dad's hair before. LOL, Joe. LOL. Dolly is tiny too, honey. Yes, but Dolly has more of a caricature to her, right? She has the big red lips and the big boobs and the high, heavy makeup. That, like, Dolly plays up the caricature of that, right? Miley's not a caricature, So we're not doing. What's going on with James Kennedy? Everyone's talking about James Kennedy. What's the deal with James Kennedy? I don't understand I don't know any allegations against James Kennedy or any charges against James Kennedy. I haven't seen anything online. So if those are rumors and speculation, we're not going to do that because this is not a low budget show where we break down low budget tea. But if there are confirmations of things, then yes, we can get into that. But yeah, I was not a fan of Miley's hair, but congrats to Miley because she really won. And then a lot of people were talking about the two other moments. One was Jay-Z's moment where Jay-Z was talking about how Beyonce has won, 32 Grammys for like her records, her songs, but she's never won Album of the Year, which I find interesting. And he shaded everybody. And I was like, ooh, this is another Kanye moment. Remember, Kanye came up and he's like, Beyonce had one of the best songs of all time. And he like snubbed Taylor Swift in that. Well, I was kind of living for it. He's like, listen, some of these people don't even deserve to be in these categories. And I was like, oh, he's like, sorry, when I get nervous, I speak truth. And I was like, I know that's right. Same Jay-Z, same. Except I don't need to be nervous. I just always spit truth. So yeah, that was a good moment. And then a lot of people are talking about the Taylor Swift of it all. Because I was like, oh my God, the only thing I wanted was for Taylor Swift to not win anything else at this point. Oh, many Bravo accounts are reporting about Rachel speaking on James' alleged domestic violence. And of course, Kristen has her own story. Is Rachel claiming that James Kennedy. Oh, James Kennedy was accused of being abusive. The details will come out later this week. Someone at Vanderpump Rules asked your former friend to remove a post about it, and he did. Oh, interesting. Yes, it's awesome that Carol G won her award, Karen. Congrats. Congrats to Miley. Congrats to Carol G. I did not realize Rachel was speaking about that. But here's the other thing, okay? Here's the other thing, guys. Dun, 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 dun. Let's be very mindful of these things because this is how these rumors and speculation get taken way out of context. Adam removed his James video. I mean, he's known to post and delete shit all the time. He sways with whatever the wind tells him to do. I don't give a shit. But here's the other thing that we have to be mindful of, okay? When somebody uses the term abuse, like that term has now become so subjective, and this is not to make light of domestic abuse, but she alluded to it, Zach. So you're right; it's not a fact. I get why you wouldn't want to touch it yet. Well, here's my point, reality TV lover. When somebody uses the term abuse, they can mean different things with that, right? They can mean physical abuse, they can mean emotional abuse, they can mean mental abuse, and a lot of that is very subjective. So we don't know what the alleged abuse actually is and what that actually means, right? So we have to just be mindful. I'm not saying that he's not abusive, and I'm not saying that, that Kristen and Rachel don't have their own experiences. My understanding from Kristen is that there was never any physical abuse, but he was like verbally abusive towards her and maybe emotionally abusive towards her, from her own experience. Because she's never like actually well, and the other thing too is you also have to remember we have the scenes of Vanderpump Rules where you see Kristen punching James. So I think there is absolutely, it's just these things there's a lot more gray area to it. So, a volatile, abusive relationship where, people are putting hands on each other, that doesn't make it right either way. But, we just have to be mindful and wait for things to kind of come out. And I also don't like when people allude to things like that. So, I think if you're going to make an accusation, then you need to stand firm and you need to come to the table with your experience and all of the evidence that supports that experience, because it's very dangerous to allude to things and to throw things out there like that. Because the other thing too is Rachel's also recently been talking about how the end of her relationship with James was so damaging and it was so hard for her, and that's why she needed to fuck Tom Sandoval, because she was heartbroken about her relationship with James ending. And it's like, yeah, well, your relationship ended and you're so heartbroken, so fuck your best friend's boyfriend of 9 years. That makes sense. Not trying to slut shame her, but like, she was just talking about how heartbroken she was leaving James Kennedy and using that as justification for why she needed to cheat with Tom. And then now she's alleging abuse with James. So it's just like there are all of these things that for me are just like, what? Like, don't allude to things because you need to get your podcast downloads. I know that's a big sort of point of speculation that I'm putting out there, but it's like, come on, it's hard to really believe Rachel at this point because Peter's cried wolf one too many times. And it's like, what is the story? What is your perspective? Where's your accountability? What is your role in anything? Because you constantly keep spinning these new narratives, and every single time you're pointing the finger at other people. What did this therapy that you did for 90 days fucking do for you? I don't think that this is about Rachel. I think it's about someone else. Oh, that Rachel's about to out somebody else's abuse about James. Again, if you're going to listen, I am all in support of, taking down an abuser. But if you're going to make that sort of call and you're going to do that, you need to be ready for that. You need to make sure you have all of your ducks in a row, because those are big accusations that you're making, and that can open you up to a big lawsuit. Who are Tamara and Teddy talking about fighting in a car? James and who fought against who? I don't know. Are Tamara and Teddy talking about that? I've only been around James Kennedy one time. And I don't have, it was one time. It was after Sheena's show at the Bourbon Room, the infamous night at the Bourbon Room at Sheena's show. It was after the show. I was downstairs in the green room. Heather McDonald was there. Ariana was there. Katie was there. Sheena was upstairs. James and Allie were there. I got to meet James and Allie. Allie was so sweet to me. Chatted with her. I said hi to James. He said hi to me. It was, nothing more than that. He seemed like he kind of just wanted to get out of there because the show was over and he was over it. But yeah, that was my only interaction with James ever. So I don't know. I also have friends that are friends with them that have not said anything about any of that. I don't know. I did ask Kristen about that at the show. I was like, what are your thoughts on, do you have any advice to Allie? And she's like, listen, Allie will learn in her own time who James Kennedy is. So again, I would think if it was about physical abuse and he was physically abusive towards his girlfriends, I just feel like, they said James touched Lala when she was passed out. Again, guys, these are really big allegations that you're throwing out there, and you cannot be throwing these things out very loosely. You can open me up. You can open other people up to lawsuits. So we need to be very mindful about these things, and also sensitive to the fact that if these things are true, you need to be sensitive to the victims in this. Whoever was on the receiving end of these alleged, of this alleged abuse, you casually just posting about it in a live chat, also not okay. That's so disrespectful to the victims, whoever they may be. Rumors should not be repeated. Listen, it's one thing to repeat a rumor of oh my God, I think Kyle and Morgan Wade are making out in the bathroom. But it's another thing when you're talking about abuse like that, and the way that people are so casually discussing these things on Reddit. Mallory says, no, it's not like that. Lala talked about being drunk with James and they hooked up, but Lala did not say that James touched her without consent. There we go. Again, we need to be clear about these things. Name the source if you're going to call it out. Crazy, scary things. Exactly, guys. Be mindful. Be respectful. It's been out for a week. Yeah, but Tina, it sounds like you clearly have the details mixed up if you're just posting that and you don't have this out there. And if it's been out there for a week and there are legit verifications to it, I'm pretty sure I would have heard about it by now, and I haven't, which means it's more in the low budget speculation category. Stop with the James abuse. He hasn't said anything. No authorities have come after him, so let's put that to rest. I agree. Oh, Lala said it. It's from an old interview. Got it. Okay. Sounds like Lala talked about hooking up with James when they were drunk. Lala said that she was blackout drunk and didn't remember hooking up, but she never said he touched her without consent. Okay, then we can't run. Lala was not accusing him of anything. Okay, then we can't run with that narrative if that's not something that Lala herself is claiming. We just have to be mindful of these things, you guys. I know that for us, it's fun to speculate and to read into rumors and be like, ooh, the drama, the tea, the scoop. But at some point, you need to be mindful. Again, not just for the fact that you could harm somebody's reputation, but also for the fact that there are victims that don't need to be so casually speaking about this. So yeah. Teddy and Tamara were saying that somebody fought in a car when they were sharing with James and someone else. Apparently, both Tamara and Teddy took one down each. That's what they said on the podcast. Again, but what does fighting mean? Were there hands? Was it screaming? Was it arguing? Lala cleared up that story years ago. Yeah, I feel like I remember hearing Lala clear that up years ago. This is really Rachel's doing, bringing this up on her podcast over and over. Listen, Rachel's trying to cling on to any sense of relevance while still painting herself as a victim in every single scenario she's ever been placed into. So I don't take her word with much legitimacy anymore. All right. On that very fun and positive note, I hope you guys had a wonderful weekend. I hope you guys have a wonderful week ahead. If you are in SoCal, if you're in LA, stay dry. Unless, the type of wet that you're getting is the fun kind. But outside of that, I love you. I appreciate you. Hang in there. Start to a new week. We can make it a great one. I love you. I appreciate you. And I will talk to you guys later, Skater. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, dun. All right. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Be sure to get your tickets to my live show at the Bourbon Room February 14th. Get your live stream passes at nofilterlive.com or get your in-person tickets to come hang out with me IRL at nofilterlive.com. Get ready, guys. Let's get it. Get it, girl. Give me a follow at Just Plain Zack. Follow the podcast at No Filter with Zack on Instagram. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube if you're not doing so already. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit the like button. Drop a comment below. Let me know what your thoughts are on the Shannen versus Alyssa stuff. Has your mind changed now that Alyssa has spoken out? What are your thoughts about the Lala and Kristen stuff? Let me know. You watched the clips. You saw the footage. You got the receipts. So let me know what your thoughts are. You can always keep up with me at Just Plain Zack. Like I said, follow the podcast at No Filter with Zack on Instagram for all the latest tea. All right, guys. I love you. I appreciate you. Have a wonderful rest of your Monday. Get your tickets. No Filter Live. No Filter Night of Love. February 14th. The Bourbon Room. Hollywood. All right. Bye, guys. Boom. Boom. Boom.